Black Billionaire opens the door, freezes when Triplets call him Daddy. The mansion loomed in front of him like a ghost from a life he barely recognized anymore. Malik Avery stood at the foot of the stone steps, one hand gripping the handle of his Louis Vuitton travel bag, the other clenched tight in his pocket. 7 years had passed since he'd last seen this house. 7 years since he walked away from it, from her. Back then, he thought he was walking away from betrayal, from heartbreak. Now, with the Atlanta sun dipping behind the tall pines and casting long shadows across the property, he wasn't sure what he was walking into. The plan was simple: reclaim the property, sign the paperwork, be done with the past. He'd even told his assistant, no delays. One night in Georgia, Max. He didn't want nostalgia. He wanted closure, the kind with clear legal boundaries and zero emotional detours. But when he rang the doorbell and the heavy oak door creaked open, what greeted him wasn't an empty foyer or the cold stare of a former lover. It was 3 kids, 3 little brown faces. Big eyes, matching curls, maybe 7, maybe 8 years old. 1 girl, 2 boys. They stood in a perfect triangle in front of him, frozen for only a heartbeat, and then, "Daddy!" The word hit him like a truck. Before he could react, they were running. Full speed, arms open, laughing. Crying. He staggered back a step as their little bodies collided with his legs and waist, small arms wrapped tightly around him. One clung to his thigh, another latched onto his waist. The girl grabbed his hand and looked up, her eyes wide with a joy he didn't understand. "We missed you, Daddy," she whispered. He couldn't speak. He couldn't breathe. They were hugging him like they'd been waiting their whole lives. What the hell is happening? Malik slowly looked down at them. His heart pounded so hard it drowned out everything else. The boy on his left had a dimple in the same spot Malik did when he smiled. The other had that same stubborn cowlick in the front of his hair he used to hate as a kid. And the girl, God, she had the exact same deep brown eyes as Claire, his ex-wife. He dropped his bag. A voice finally returned to him, shaky and low. I think you have the wrong person." The little girl tilted her head. "You're Malik Avery, right?" "Yes." "Then you're our daddy." Before he could say anything, a voice rang from deeper inside the house. "Elijah? Eli? Lila?" "Who opened the door?" A young woman appeared, early 30s, dark braids tied back in a low bun, holding a basket of folded laundry. When she saw Malik standing at the door, flanked by 3 children gripping him like their lives depended on it, her jaw dropped. "Oh my God, Mr. Avery?" Malik took a cautious step inside. "I'm sorry. Who are you?" "I'm Tamika." "I'm their nanny. I mean Ms. Monroe's nanny." He blinked. "Ms. Monroe? Claire Monroe?" "Yes, sir." The kids pulled him farther inside. The interior of the house hadn't changed much. Same exposed beams, same floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the back lawn. But now there were crayon drawings on the fridge, toys under the coffee table, tiny sneakers near the front mat. And there was something else, something impossible to ignore. Laughter. Warmth. Life. Tamika hesitated, clearly unsure what to say. "Ms. Monroe. Claire. She'll be home soon. I didn't know you were coming. She never told me." "Neither did she tell me about them," he said, voice hardening slightly. "Are they really?" Tamika nodded but then softened. "Sir, I don't know the whole story. All I know is they've been waiting for you for a long time." Malik turned to the kids again. What are your names?" "I'm Elijah," the boy with the dimple chirped. "Eli," the second boy said. but Mom calls me Rocket 'cause I run fast. And I'm Layla, the girl said proudly, tightening her grip on his hand. Mom says I'm the brave one. Malik felt like the floor was tilting beneath him. Layla looked up again. Mom told us your job kept you away. She said you wanted to come back, but your boss wouldn't let you. Tamika shifted uncomfortably, but Malik didn't look away from the girl. He knelt slowly. Who told you that? Mommy! All three answered at once. Malik's jaw clenched. Claire Monroe. Always so composed, so careful. But this was something else entirely. The kids dragged him to the couch. Eli launched into a ramble about school. Elijah showed him a drawing. Layla pulled out a worn photo, an old wedding picture of Malik and Claire, faded and creased from being carried around too long. She keeps it in her wallet, Layla said. She says this is the happiest day of her life. Malik stared at the image. The version of him in the photo looked so much younger, so much more certain. He remembered that day. The small ceremony in Napa Valley. Just close friends, some wine, a promise to build a life together. That was before the betrayal. Before the photos. Before he walked away. His head was spinning. Tamika placed a glass of water on the table and quietly stepped out. Malik didn't notice. When the front door opened again 20 minutes later, he barely reacted. Until he heard the voice. Kids, I'm home. He turned slowly. Claire Monroe stood in the doorway, briefcase in one hand, keys in the other. Her hair was windblown, her eyes tired, but when she saw him, the world stopped. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The keys slipped from her hand and hit the floor. For a long, breathless moment, they just stared at each other. The children ran toward her, all talking at once. Mommy, Daddy's home. He surprised us. He's staying, right? Claire didn't move. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Malik rose from the couch, his face unreadable. Claire, her voice cracked. Malik, what are you doing here? He took a step toward her. What am I doing here? I could ask you the same. Why didn't you ever tell me? Claire swallowed hard. Her face crumbled with 100 emotions all at once. I wanted to. I tried. You tried? I didn't know how to reach you. You blocked my number. You left the country. You could have tried harder. Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. I wanted to protect them. I thought I was doing the right thing. They think I've been on a business trip. That I was gone because of work. His voice was sharp now. What kind of lie is that? The kind that lets a child sleep at night. Silence. Claire dropped to her knees as the kids hugged her. She ran her fingers through their hair, but her eyes never left Malik's. He crossed his arms. Are they mine? Yes, she said. They're yours. Malik didn't move, didn't breathe. For all the chaos, all the noise, the only thing he could hear was the blood rushing through his ears. Then Layla reached for his hand again. Are you going to stay, Daddy? Malik looked down at her. Her eyes held no judgment. Only hope. I don't know, he said softly. I really don't know. But he stayed standing there, hand in hers. And he didn't let go. Malik sat at the edge of the couch like he was on trial, his hands resting on his knees, eyes darting between the children who were now playing in the living room, and the woman standing silently by the window. Claire hadn't said another word since admitting the children were his. And Malik didn't push further. Not yet. His mind was still catching up. They looked like him. They spoke with the same soft-spoken confidence Claire used to have when she was younger, the kind that made you listen even when you didn't agree. Malik had made empires rise and companies crumble with his decisions. But this was a battlefield he wasn't trained for. Claire finally spoke, her voice low and even. "Do you want to talk somewhere private?" Malik glanced toward the children. They were giggling over a set of magnetic tiles, their laughter soft and oblivious. He nodded. "Yeah, the study's still there?" She didn't answer with words. She turned and led him down the hall, heels clicking softly against the hardwood floors. The room was smaller than he remembered, or maybe it just felt that way because the weight in his chest made everything seem tighter. Claire sat behind the desk, his old desk, and Malik stayed standing. He didn't want to sit, didn't want to get comfortable. "So," he started. "You had 3 children, mine, and you never told me." Claire met his gaze. "You disappeared, Malik. You know why I left. I know what you thought you saw, what you were told." She folded her hands. "But did you ever question any of it? You were in a hotel room with another man, Claire." "I had photos. And you didn't ask me. You didn't confront me. You just vanished." "I was humiliated," he snapped. "I gave everything to you. I trusted you, and then I find those pictures in my inbox. No explanation, no warning." "They were fake," Claire interrupted. Silence. Malik's jaw tightened. "Excuse me? They were staged." "I didn't find out until months later. By then you were gone. I tried to track you down, but you'd changed everything. New number, new address. You made yourself unreachable." Malik stared at her, a storm building behind his eyes. "Who sent them?" Claire looked down. "My mother." He blinked. "Your mother?" "She never approved of us. She thought I was chasing your money, said I was a liability to your career. She hated that I refused to sign a prenup." "That doesn't justify—" "I'm not justifying it," Claire said firmly. "I'm telling you the truth. She had someone pose as a business associate, made sure I was seen going into that hotel room, then edited the photos to look like more than they were. I was there to confront him about harassing me at work. I didn't even stay 15 minutes. Malik felt something shift inside his chest. Something cold and rotten. "Why would your own mother do that to you?" "Because she could. Because she wanted control. And because she knew you'd believe it." He rubbed his face, breathing heavily. "And the kids? You were already pregnant?" "I found out 2 weeks after you left." Claire's voice cracked just slightly. "I wanted to tell you, I really did, but I couldn't find you. I tried your assistant, your company, but no one gave me anything. And you just gave up?" "No," Claire whispered. "I chose to protect them. I built a life around them. I didn't want them to grow up with resentment or bitterness, wondering why their father left them. So I told them you were away working." Malik stared at her like she was a stranger. His heart ached in a way it hadn't since the day he left. Not because she'd lied, but because, for the first time, he understood why. "You told them I was still part of their lives." "Yes. They believe I love them. They believe you never stopped." Malik turned away, eyes stinging. He'd fought hostile boardrooms, government hearings, media smear campaigns. But he didn't know how to fight this. "I want a DNA test," he said. Claire nodded. "Of course. And until I get the results, I'll stay here." She looked at him, uncertain. "Is that what you really want?" "I want the truth," Malik replied. "And if they're mine, I'm not walking away again." That night, he didn't go to a hotel. He stayed in the guest room at the far end of the hallway, away from the warmth of the bedrooms that held the laughter he missed out on. He lay awake listening to footsteps, the creak of floorboards, the soft hum of Claire's voice reading bedtime stories. He pressed his hand to his chest, where a dull ache throbbed behind his ribs. In the morning, Malik was the one who made breakfast. He burned the toast, dropped the orange juice bottle, and had to Google how to work a French press. But when the kids ran into the kitchen in their pajamas and saw him there, their eyes lit up. "You're still here," Elijah beamed. "You didn't go back to work?" Layla asked. Malik shook his head, trying not to let the guilt crack his voice. "No, baby girl, not today." Eli reached for his hand. "Can you walk us to school?" Malik hesitated. Claire appeared at the doorway, dressed for work, watching quietly. Malik glanced at her, then back at the kids. "Yeah," he said. "Let's go." It was only 2 blocks away, but it felt like miles. As they walked, the kids talked about classmates, teachers, cafeteria lunches. Layla held his hand the whole time, humming under her breath. He'd missed so much. When they reached the school gates, a group of other students pointed. "There they are, the kids with no dad." "Not anymore," one of the boys sneered. "They probably made him up." Eli's shoulders tensed. He turned back to Malik, his eyes filling. Malik stepped forward, calm, collected. "Dangerous. Is there a problem?" he asked, voice low. The boy froze. "I'm Eli's father, and I don't take kindly to bullies." The teacher on duty rushed over, trying to defuse the moment. Malik didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He gave the boy a look that said everything. And then he knelt in front of his son. "Next time someone calls you a liar," he said, "you tell them the truth always comes out, just like I did." Eli nodded, tears threatening to spill. Malik kissed his forehead. As he walked back home alone, the air was cool and heavy with morning mist, but for the first time in years, Malik Avery didn't feel alone. He felt like a father. And for once, he didn't run from it. Malik stood in the doorway of the kids' room that night, watching them sleep. The soft glow of a unicorn-shaped nightlight cast dancing shadows across their peaceful faces. He leaned against the frame, arms crossed, trying to process what had become of his life in just 48 hours. 3 children. His children. Possibly. Claire had been quiet all evening. She didn't press, didn't explain again. She just gave him space, watching him from a distance with a mix of caution and sadness. Malik could feel her silence more than her words. It wasn't avoidance. It was a shield. She was protecting herself. After tucking the kids in, Malik walked downstairs and found her in the kitchen, still in her work blouse, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing dishes that were already clean. "You always wash them twice?" he asked, trying to soften the tension. Claire gave a small smile. "Only when I'm trying not to think." He nodded. "Same." They stood in silence for a moment before he stepped closer, leaning against the counter. "I keep going back to the night I left," Malik said. Trying to remember if there was anything off, anything that didn't add up. Claire didn't look at him. There wasn't. "Because you didn't ask me anything, Malik. You saw the photos and you just left." "I thought I knew what I saw." "You saw what someone wanted you to believe. You never gave me a chance to explain." "I was angry," Malik said. "I was broken." Claire finally met his gaze. "So was I." The quiet hung heavy between them. He sighed. "You said your mother sent the photos, that she staged them. That true?" Claire's voice was calm, steady. "Yes. Why?" "Because she didn't want me with you. She said being married to a billionaire made me selfish, that I was chasing money." "She didn't see our love, just your bank account." Malik shook his head. "She always smiled in front of me. She's good at that. And the kids. I never asked for help. I didn't want her in their lives. I didn't trust her. You saw what she was capable of. Malik crossed his arms. So you raised them alone? Claire nodded. I had a nanny for a while. Max helped when he could. But yeah, most days, it was just me. His jaw clenched. Max. Claire raised an eyebrow. Is that a problem? You were close. He's a family friend. And the godfather. Yes, because you weren't around. Malik exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing. Why did your mother reach out to me last month then? She sent a message through my foundation, said you were letting strange men live in my house. Claire's face went blank. She what? She said you'd turned the place into a free-for-all, that you had no boundaries, that the kids were being exposed to random people. Claire's shoulders tensed. That's a lie. The only men who come here are Max and my boss, when he drives me home late from the office, and I never let them near the kids unless I was there. I figured. But it was enough to push me to come back. Claire looked at him, expression unreadable. So you didn't come for us. You came for the house. I came to take back what was mine. Then I saw those kids. Malik trailed off. You weren't ready, Claire said gently. No, I wasn't. They stood there for a long moment, looking at each other like two people trying to recognize the versions of themselves they'd both grown into. Then Claire spoke, voice soft but sharp. You know, I was offered a job out of state last year. Better pay, full benefits, but I didn't take it. Why not? Because if you ever came back, I didn't want the kids to be impossible to find. I didn't want to hide from you. I just wanted you to see them and decide for yourself. Malik swallowed hard. And now that I've seen them, that's up to you, Malik. The next day, Claire took the day off work. They drove to the clinic together with the kids. The DNA test process was quiet, clinical, fast, mouth swabs, sealed envelopes, a technician telling them results would take 2 weeks. Afterward, they went for ice cream. Malik sat across from the triplets at a small booth in a local diner, watching them smear chocolate and sprinkles across their cheeks. They asked him silly questions. Do you have a private jet? What's your favorite candy? Are you richer than Elon Musk? No, he chuckled. Not even close. You could be, Eli grinned. If you worked harder. Claire laughed from beside him. Later that night, Malik stood by the bay window in the guest room, phone in hand. He hadn't answered any messages from Yasmin, his longtime assistant and, for the last year, something more complicated than a friend. She had been the one who held things together at the company, while Malik slowly withdrew. When she'd heard he was traveling to Georgia alone, she'd gotten suspicious. He finally opened one of her texts. You're going soft. Is she playing you again? He deleted the message without replying, then another buzz, this one from his cousin Cameron. Yo, I just found out from Aunt Teresa. Claire's been through hell, man. You better not screw this up. He put the phone down and sat on the edge of the bed, face in his hands. The next morning, Malik made the kids breakfast again. It was easier this time. Fewer broken eggs. Layla handed him a drawing, a picture of all 5 of them, stick figures with smiling faces. She'd even drawn the house with a heart floating above it. He stared at it for a long time. Claire entered the kitchen a few minutes later, dressed for work, sipping coffee from a chipped mug that read, World's Okayest Mom. You're good with them, she said. I've been good at a lot of things, Malik replied, but never had the chance to be good at this. You still have time. He looked at her quietly. Do I?
She nodded. But only if you choose it. Later that day, Malik sat outside on the back porch, watching the triplets play tag in the yard. The laughter, the small arguments, the cries of, "That's not fair," brought something to life inside him he didn't know he missed. For the first time he saw his future. And maybe, just maybe, it didn't look like boardrooms and quarterly reports. It looked like this: grass stains, chocolate smiles. And the woman he never stopped loving. But just as that thought settled in his chest, his phone buzzed again. A new message. From an unknown number. "You deserve to know the truth about Claire Monroe. She lied to you then." "She's lying now. I have proof. Meet me tonight." No name, no signature, just coordinates. And a time. 7:00 p.m. Malik stared at the message. Then at the kids. The shadows of the past were not done with him yet. The cafe Malik was led to was tucked away behind an old train station on the edge of town, the kind of place where secrets lived in corners and shadows. He parked his matte black SUV across the street and sat for a moment, engine running, fingers tapping anxiously against the steering wheel. It had been a long time since someone dared to text him without context, and it was even longer since he let his guard down long enough to follow. Still, something about the message gnawed at him. Its boldness, the vague promise of truth, and Malik knew that truth rarely waited politely. He stepped inside. The scent of over-roasted coffee and cinnamon hit him immediately. It was nearly empty, save for a man in a navy trench coat at the back, hunched over a laptop. "Malik Delacroix," the man greeted as Malik approached, voice low but clipped with confidence. "Depends on who's asking," Malik said, standing his ground. The man smiled and motioned to the seat across from him. "I'm Julian Hayes." "Private investigator, or more precisely, a fixer." Malik didn't sit. "And what exactly do you think I need fixed?" Julian didn't flinch. "Your past, your family, your assumptions." Malik narrowed his eyes. Julian turned the laptop around. On screen was a series of images, Claire with another man, laughing, close, seemingly intimate. The same photos that had burned themselves into Malik's memory 7 years ago. "I know those," Malik said sharply. "That's why I left her." Julian clicked again. Another photo appeared, this time zoomed out. A production crew, a director's clapperboard, a set light in the corner of the frame. "These were staged," Julian said. "Part of a fake commercial shoot your ex-mother-in-law commissioned under the guise of a product ad. The man in the photo, an actor named Jonah Temple. You can call him yourself, I already did." Malik's mouth dried. Julian continued, his voice smooth but firm. "She hired me years ago to dig up real dirt on Claire, but there was none. Instead, I found this. I offered to tell you then, but your number was changed. You disappeared." "Until recently?" Malik finally sat down slowly. "You're telling me Claire never cheated?" he said, almost to himself. "She didn't." "But someone wanted you to believe she did, and they succeeded." Julian closed the laptop and slid a manila envelope across the table. "Everything's in there. Texts, receipts, bank transfers, the contract with the actor. It's all real, and it's all dirty." Malik's hands trembled slightly as he reached for it. "Why tell me now?" Julian paused. "Because Claire's sick. Stage 3 lymphoma." "She hasn't told you yet, has she?" Malik's heart stuttered. "No," he said quietly. "She's been working overtime, refusing treatment. Trying to make sure the kids don't feel the weight of it. But it's getting worse. Fast." Malik clenched his jaw. "How do you know this?" "I've kept tabs. Even after I stopped reporting back to her mother. Someone had to look out for Claire." Malik leaned back, the air suddenly thick in his lungs. The pieces were sliding into place, painfully, slowly, but undeniably. All those late nights, the headaches,
The way she'd wince when lifting the kids, the way she never complained. "She didn't want me to know," he muttered.
Julia nodded, because she thought it would make you stay out of guilt. Malik looked up, but she was wrong. Back at the house, Claire sat on the floor of the living room, surrounded by Legos and half-eaten string cheese.
The triplets were building what they called the Daddy Tower, a crooked block monument topped with a stick figure drawing of Malik. "Does this mean he's going to live here forever now?" Eli asked. "I don't know," Claire answered honestly.
"He should," Layla chimed in. "He made pancakes twice. That's a forever move." Claire laughed, but the sound caught in her throat. A sharp ache rolled through her rib cage, and she winced, clutching her side.
"Mommy?"
Silas whispered, his eyes wide. Claire forced a smile.
"Just a little tired, honey. I'm okay." But she wasn't. That morning her doctor had called. The latest scans showed the tumors had grown. She needed aggressive chemo, soon. But she hadn't told Malik yet. Not with everything unraveling. Upstairs, Malik entered the house quietly and went straight to his room. He needed to think. To breathe. But the moment he opened the manila envelope again, the pain rushed back. Photos, dates, timelines. 7 years of wasted rage, 7 years lost with his children. Later that evening, he found Claire in the kitchen washing dishes, just like she had that first night. This time, he didn't hesitate. "We need to talk," he said. Claire turned, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "About what?" "About the truth." She froze. "I know everything now," he said softly. "About the photos." "About what really happened." Her shoulders sank. "Who told you?" "A fixer named Julian. You were right." "It was your mother. She set it all up." Claire didn't respond at first. Then she nodded once. "I tried to tell you, but you were already gone." "I know," he said, "and I was wrong." They stood in silence. Then Malik stepped closer. "But that's not what scares me the most right now," he continued. "What scares me is that I found out from a stranger that you're sick." Claire stiffened. "He told you that too?" "Why didn't you?" Claire swallowed. "Because I didn't want pity or obligation." "I didn't want you to come back because I was dying." "You're not dying," Malik said firmly. "You're fighting, and I'm staying." Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. "I have a treatment plan," she whispered. "I just didn't want the kids to worry." "I'll worry enough for all of them," Malik replied. "You don't have to do this alone anymore." Claire's voice cracked. "I don't know how to let you back in." "Then start small," Malik said, reaching for her hand. "Start with breakfast tomorrow. I'll make the pancakes." A laugh broke through her tears. That night, after the kids fell asleep, Malik walked to their room one more time. He knelt beside their beds, one hand on each tiny shoulder, and whispered promises he hadn't known how to make before. He had come back for a house. But what he found was a family, and this time he wasn't letting them go. The following morning brought a strange calm to the Delacroix household. Sunlight spilled into the kitchen, dappling the counter where Malik stood flipping pancakes while humming an old jazz tune. The triplets hovered nearby, each holding a plate with exaggerated patience. "Daddy makes them fluffier than Mommy," Silas announced proudly, licking a bit of syrup off his finger. "Hey now," Claire called from the living room, half smiling as she folded laundry. "That's betrayal, Silas. Treason." Silas grinned wide. "But your syrup is better." Claire shook her head. "Smooth save."
The atmosphere was light, almost deceptively so. But beneath the surface, a quiet current pulled at Malik's mind. The documents from Julian, the truth behind the photos, Claire's illness, it was all still raw. And though he'd promised to stay, part of him couldn't shake the feeling that everything had shifted too fast. Later that afternoon, as Claire napped upstairs, Malik sat alone on the back patio with a glass of iced tea and the manila envelope again opened in front of him. He flipped through it slowly, stopping at a folded letter tucked in the back. It wasn't part of Julian's report. It was handwritten.
And it was addressed to him, his name scrawled in the unmistakable handwriting of Claire's mother, Lillian. He hesitated, then unfolded it.
Malik, by the time you read this, you'll probably already know what I did. I don't regret it. You were a rising star. You had power, you had money, and I didn't trust my daughter not to throw it all away on love.
Love doesn't keep people safe. Power does. You may hate me for it.
But everything I did was to protect Claire from the world and from you. You weren't meant to be a father, not then.
So I did what I had to do. She never forgave me. That's her mistake. But if you're smart, you'll walk away again. Don't tie yourself to a life that was never built to hold someone like you. Lillian Malik stared at the letter, his hands trembling slightly. He felt cold. For years he had believed he walked away because Claire betrayed him. But the truth, it had been engineered by someone who thought she was playing God with their future. He folded the letter slowly, like he might crush it if he moved too fast. That night, Claire came downstairs to find Malik sitting in the living room, staring out at the dark. His expression unreadable. She moved quietly to the sofa, sitting beside him. "You okay?" she asked softly. He handed her the letter. She took one glance and stiffened. Her mouth opened, then closed. "She left that?" Claire asked quietly. "It was in the envelope," he said. "I didn't know it was there," she said quickly. "I swear, I never saw that before." "I believe you." They sat in silence. Claire folded the letter and handed it back.
"She thought she was helping me," she said bitterly. "She thought she was protecting me by destroying me."
"She destroyed both of us," Malik muttered. "But you're here now." "I don't know if that's enough," Malik whispered. Claire looked at him, pain flickering in her eyes. "Then tell me what you need." Malik stood. "I need to talk to her." "Lillian?" He nodded. "I need to look her in the eye and ask why she stole my life." The next morning, Malik drove out alone to the assisted living estate where Lillian had relocated 6 months ago after a health scare. He hadn't seen her since the day he'd signed the divorce papers. Back then, she wore a smug expression like she'd won something. Today, she looked smaller, still sharply dressed, but age had softened her once imposing demeanor. He walked into the garden where she was sipping tea beneath a canvas umbrella. Her eyes lifted slowly, then narrowed.
"Well,"
she said.
"I suppose this was inevitable."
Malik didn't sit.
"You wrote me a letter."
"And you read it. Good. Saves us time."
"You lied to me."
"You ruined her," Lillian scoffed. "I saved her. And you." Malik stepped closer.
"You manipulated me into walking away from the woman I loved, from the children I never knew existed. You poisoned everything."
Lillian's gaze hardened. "You think love would have sustained you both? She was 20, naive." "She would have sunk you. You underestimated both of us," he said coldly. "No," she said, calmly stirring her tea. "I made a judgment call. You were too powerful to be dragged into domestic messes. I did you a favor." "I would have given it all up for her," Malik said. "I still might." Lillian looked at him long and hard.
You're more dangerous now, she said slowly, because you think you're in control.
I am, Malik said, and I'll be filing for full guardianship of the children. If you ever come near them, or Claire, I'll make sure you lose everything. Lillian stood, her lips twitching at the edges.
You're just like your father.
Angry? Reckless.
I'm nothing like him,
Malik said. He ran. I stayed. And with that, he turned and walked away. Back at the house, Claire was sitting on the floor with the triplets building puzzles when Malik walked in. He said nothing at first, just watched them. Watched how they clung to her, how they laughed and scrambled to show him their messy, beautiful creations. He dropped to his knees beside them.
Daddy, look,
Layla said proudly, holding up a crooked cardboard piece of a lion.
Beautiful,
Malik whispered, but he wasn't looking at the puzzle. He was looking at Claire. Later that night, after the children were asleep, he found her out on the porch, wrapped in a sweater. "She'll never hurt you again," he said, sitting beside her. Claire didn't ask what he meant. Somehow, she already knew. They sat in silence, two broken hearts trying to remember how to beat in rhythm again.
I think I still love you,
he said suddenly, like the truth had burst out of him before fear could stop it. Claire turned her head slowly, her eyes full of unshed tears.
I think I never stopped.
She reached for his hand, and this time, neither of them let go. It was just after sunrise when Malik sat alone at the edge of the bed, elbows on knees, his thoughts too tangled for sleep. Claire's confession the night before still echoed in his chest like a dull drumbeat. "I never stopped loving you." The words had been soft, uncertain, but the effect was seismic. Downstairs, the quiet hum of the house stirred. Malik could hear the clink of cereal bowls, the giggles of the triplets starting their day. It was the first time in years that mornings didn't feel hollow. He had a family now. The question that haunted him was whether it was already too late to keep it together. He headed to the kitchen and paused when he saw the kids lined up at the counter, each in pajamas covered in superheroes and cereal dust. Claire stood behind them in a robe, hair tied in a messy bun, flipping pancakes with one hand and pouring orange juice with the other. Layla turned and saw him first.
Daddy!
"You're up!" "Barely," Malik said with a grin. "You're planning to eat all the pancakes before I even sit down?" "You snooze, you lose," Silas shouted, mouth already full. Claire laughed, catching his gaze. It lingered for a second longer than necessary. But there was warmth now. Something hesitant, but genuine. After breakfast, Claire suggested taking the kids out to the park. Malik volunteered to drive, which surprised her. She hadn't expected him to be so involved. He helped buckle each child in, carried their backpacks, and even packed snacks without being asked. Claire noticed every gesture, every softened edge. At the park, the triplets ran wild with joy, while Malik and Claire sat on a bench under a wide oak tree. For a while, they just watched in silence. "How are you really feeling?" Malik finally asked, turning to her. Claire didn't pretend not to understand.
"Some days are better than others," she said.
"The medication helps, but I won't lie. It's getting harder to hide the fatigue." Malik clenched his jaw. "You shouldn't have had to do this alone." "I didn't have a choice," she replied, voice soft but firm. "You left, Malik." "I know," he said, regret heavy in his tone. "But I'm not leaving again." Claire didn't respond right away. Instead, she looked toward the kids. "They think you're perfect, you know." "I'm far from it," he said quietly.
"They don't need perfect," she said. "They just need you."
Later that afternoon, Claire's phone buzzed. It was her oncologist's office.
She stepped away to take the call while Malik watched her expression shift from calm to rattled. When she returned, her face was pale. "What's wrong?" he asked, standing up. Claire hesitated, then said, "My recent labs, they weren't good. The doctor wants me to come in tomorrow for a full evaluation." Malik didn't say a word at first.
He just reached for her hand and held it.
"I'm coming with you."
"I didn't ask." "You didn't have to." That night, after putting the kids to bed, Malik found himself in the guest room staring at the DNA results that had arrived that morning and were still sitting on his nightstand, unopened. He held the envelope for a long time. Eventually, he opened it. The words stared back at him, black ink on white paper. A line that changed everything. Probability of paternity, 99.98%. His breath caught in his throat. He already knew. He had known the moment he saw their eyes. But reading it, seeing it in black and white, made something click into place inside him. They were his. He had missed their births, their first steps, their first words. He would not miss another moment. Malik walked to the kids' bedroom, the document still in his hand. They were asleep, limbs tangled under a blanket with cartoon astronauts. Layla's arm hung off the edge, her fingers twitching with dreams. He leaned over, kissed each of them softly on the forehead. "I promise," he whispered. "I'm going to be the dad you deserve." The next day, they arrived at the clinic. Claire was nervous, though she tried to hide it beneath layers of small talk. Malik stayed at her side the entire time, even during the MRI. He waited in the hallway, tapping his knee, silently cursing every second that ticked by. Finally, the doctor came out with a clipboard and a serious expression. "The tumor hasn't grown, but it hasn't shrunk either," he said. "We're going to increase her dosage and schedule more aggressive treatment." Malik nodded, holding Claire's hand tighter. "Whatever she needs." They drove home in silence. That evening, the children were playing outside when Malik pulled Claire into the study. "I opened the test results," he said. Claire turned to him slowly, her heart skipping. "And?" "They're mine. They've always been mine." Claire swallowed hard. "I never lied about that." "I know," Malik said, "and I'm sorry for ever doubting it." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small red velvet box. Claire froze. "No," he said, opening it slowly, revealing not a ring, but a house key. "You don't have to marry me, but you should know. I'm not leaving. This is my home too now." Claire's eyes shimmered. "Welcome home, Malik," she whispered. And for the first time in years, they both believed it. A week after the clinic visit, Malik's world began to shift in ways he hadn't anticipated. The routines were starting to feel familiar. School drop-offs, bedtime stories, grocery lists scrawled on the fridge. But beneath the surface was an undercurrent of unresolved tension. Malik knew that being physically present wasn't the same as being forgiven. And even if Claire said the words, her eyes still held pieces of an old hurt she hadn't let go of. It came to a head on a Friday evening. Malik had offered to cook dinner, an attempt to ease Claire's responsibilities and also impress the triplets, who still found it unbelievable that he knew how to make pancakes and pasta. But as he stood at the stove flipping grilled cheese sandwiches, he heard Claire's voice in the hallway, soft but clipped. Someone was at the front door. When he peeked out, he saw a woman standing there, tall, stylish, confidently crossed arms. Her voice carried just enough for him to catch the tail end of it. "So, this is where you've been hiding," she said. "Not even a call back?" It was Lauren. Claire noticed Malik step into the hallway and turned, tension rising fast between them. Malik's face tightened. "What are you doing here, Lauren?" She stepped inside like she owned the room. "You disappeared, Malik. No call, no message." "After everything we've built,
After everything I've helped you through, this is how you treat me? Claire froze, the words landing like knives. Who is she? She asked quietly, trying to steady her breath. I'm his partner, Lauren snapped before Malik could respond. In more ways than one. Claire's eyes flicked to Malik. Is that true? No, he said immediately. She was a colleague. That's all it ever was. Lauren scoffed. Colleague? That's rich. We spent 2 years building Skybridge West together. I stayed by your side when the press tore you apart, when the board doubted you. And now what? You just run back to your ex and her kids? They're my kids, Malik said, his voice suddenly cold. Lauren went silent for a second. You didn't even know they existed until 2 weeks ago. Claire flinched. Malik stepped forward. You need to leave, Lauren. Lauren's mouth twisted. I see. The billionaire wants to play daddy now. You think this makes you noble? Because you're babysitting and flipping grilled cheese? You think it erases everything? Claire stood still, arms crossed tightly. Malik turned toward her, the heat in his voice replaced by something closer to desperation. I was going to tell you about her, he said, but there was nothing between us. Not the way you're thinking. Claire shook her head. That's not the point, Malik. It's not about her. It's about what happens every time life gets complicated. You vanish, you run, and you leave people picking up the pieces. Malik didn't answer right away. The kids were playing upstairs, and even their laughter felt like a fragile thing. I'm not running this time, he said, quieter now. I'm not perfect, Claire. God knows I've made a mess of everything, but I'm here, and I'm staying. Lauren narrowed her eyes. You'll regret this. No, he said, steady and sure. I regret leaving the first time. I'm not making that mistake again. Lauren spun on her heel and left, the door clicking shut behind her. The silence between Malik and Claire lingered like smoke. She turned and walked to the kitchen without a word. He followed. Claire, he said, please. Don't let her rewrite the story. She turned to face him, finally letting her emotions spill over. You left without a word. You filed for divorce from another continent. And now you're back because you got told a different version of the story, because your mother finally admitted she lied. She stepped closer. You weren't there for the sickness. The fear. The nights they asked why their dad didn't want them. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Malik looked away, his jaw clenched. You're right. I wasn't. Claire exhaled, shaky and raw. And now you expect me to let you walk back into our lives like you never left? No, he said. I don't expect that. I just want the chance to earn it. Claire stared at him. Then prove it. The next morning, he did just that. The triplets had a school event, a family hero presentation. Parents were invited to sit in while the children gave short speeches about the person who inspired them most. Malik didn't know until Claire quietly mentioned it at breakfast. You don't have to go, she said. They chose me to be their hero. You're not on the list. But he went anyway. He sat in the back of the classroom, quiet and still, watching Lila walk to the front in a yellow dress that billowed as she moved. She glanced at Claire. Then her gaze landed on Malik. My hero, she began, voice steady, is someone who never gave up on us, even when she was tired, even when she was sick. Even when we were mean or loud or silly, she always listened, she always fought for us. Claire covered her mouth. But, Layla added, we have 2 heroes now. One just took longer to find his way home. She looked at Malik. Her brothers did too. And we're glad he did. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. When it was over, Claire stood beside Malik in the hallway, stunned by the kid's words. "She wrote that herself," she said softly. "I know," Malik whispered. "I didn't think she was ready to say all that. Not yet." "Sometimes," Malik said, "kids know more about forgiveness than we do." Claire looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time since he'd come back, she didn't look away. The rain came hard that morning. Thick sheets slammed against the windows as thunder rolled over the quiet Los Angeles suburb. Inside the house, everything felt still. The triplets were seated in the living room, their eyes locked on a cartoon they had seen 100 times. Claire moved slowly in the kitchen, the weight of the past few weeks finally catching up with her. And Malik stood in the hallway, holding the letter that had just arrived in a cream-colored envelope with the seal of the White House embossed at the top. He turned the envelope over again, his fingers tracing the edges. The president's office didn't send letters like this unless something significant was on the other side. When he finally opened it, he read it 3 times. By the 4th, his eyes were still wide with disbelief. The President of the United States had personally invited him and his family to Washington for a private recognition event, not just for his business accomplishments, but for his recent contributions to education, community development, and most notably, his efforts to reunite with his children and rebuild their future after years of absence. Claire walked in, a dish towel slung over her shoulder. "What is that?" she asked, noticing his expression. He held up the letter. "It's from the White House." She blinked. "What?" "They want us to fly out next week." "There's some formal ceremony. Apparently the president read about everything. The company rebuild, the foundation I started for fatherless kids, the story of us." Claire laughed softly, as if the entire idea were too surreal to process. "What does he want from us?" "A photo op?" "No," Malik said quietly. "He wants the story, all of it." "He said people need to hear it." That night, Malik lay awake in the guest room. But sleep didn't come. Not out of stress, but something deeper. Restlessness. Resolve. He stepped out and wandered toward the nursery room. The soft breathing of the children filled the space, grounding him in a way nothing else ever had. In that silence, he made a decision. The next morning, Claire found him in the backyard with a clipboard, reviewing blueprints. It wasn't for a business venture or new investment. It was a renovation plan for their home. "You're remodeling?" she asked cautiously. "I'm rebuilding," Malik corrected her, eyes bright. "Not just walls, all of it. Our future. I want this house to be the place they grow up in, with both of us here." Claire looked away, unsure if she could trust the hope blossoming in her chest. "You mean, stay here?" "I've had all the penthouses I could ever want, Claire, but no skyscraper ever made me feel what this old house does. With you. With them." Claire remained silent, the air thick between them. "I've thought about it," Malik continued. "Long and hard. I don't want joint custody from a distance. I don't want scheduled visits. I want to wake up and step on Legos. I want to fight over who forgot to pack school lunches. I want the mess, the noise." "The real thing," Claire's voice cracked. "But what if you run again?" "I won't," he said simply, "because this time I know what I'm running from and what I'm running toward." The week flew by. When they arrived in Washington, D.C., the mood shifted. The triplets held Claire's hands tightly as cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions, some recognizing Malik as the tech mogul who had vanished for years and returned with not just a comeback, but with children and a story the world couldn't ignore. Inside the East Room, Malik stood behind a podium, the president beside him. "I once thought success was built on isolation," Malik said to the gathered crowd. "On shutting people out to climb higher.
But I was wrong. I missed birthdays. I missed first words.
I missed life, until I opened a door one day and heard 3 little voices call me Daddy. Gasps echoed. He turned to Claire, who sat with the kids in the front row.
Her eyes glistened. I wasn't ready for what they gave me. Forgiveness. And I didn't deserve it. But I'm spending the rest of my life earning it. Because sometimes the greatest comeback isn't to the top of the business world. It's back into your own family's life. The room erupted in applause. Later that night, back in their hotel suite, the kids ran between rooms, thrilled about the tiny soaps and the fluffy pillows. Malik and Claire sat on the couch, sipping tea. "You were incredible up there," she whispered. He smiled.
I was just telling the truth. A moment passed. You know, I never thought we'd get here, she said. I didn't either.
But we're here now. Claire leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. So, what's next? Malik looked at the ceiling for a moment, then down at her. I think we live one day at a time, and we tell our story, not just the good parts. All of it. Because somewhere out there, there's another man thinking it's too late to go back, and maybe this story shows him it's not. They stayed quiet, letting the moment breathe. The camera panned back through the hotel window. Rain now gone, city lights glowing.
Dear viewers, if you felt something real in this story, if you've ever known the power of forgiveness, the weight of second chances, or the beauty of coming home, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. We tell stories that matter, stories like Malik's, stories like yours. Because sometimes the most powerful words in the world are simply, Daddy's home.